If you can't beat oil consumption, just normalize it and tell every customer that it's totally fine. That's pretty much the mindset of today's automotive engineers, who keep training us year after year to believe that guzzling oil by the liter is perfectly normal, even for a brand new engine. In an effort to justify the shortcomings of their own flawed creations, car manufacturers now build absurd oil consumption rates right into their official tolerances, sometimes up to a full liter per 1,000 kilometers. This clever trick instantly frees them from any liability for defective engines that are practically broken straight from the factory. By declaring excessive oil consumption to be within spec, they can dodge multi-million-dollar lawsuits from angry customers who are, quite frankly, sick and tired of buying motor oil by the case and dumping it into these so-called masterpieces of the global auto industry. In quotes, of course. It's basically like they're saying, well, we did warn you, our engines do burn oil. Quite a bit, actually. Like a liter every 1,000, so no, we won't be fixing that under warranty. Thanks and goodbye. Now, back in the sane reality of years past, let me remind you that not so long ago, a normal oil consumption rate was considered to be no more than 1 liter per 8,000 to 10,000 kilometers. In other words, it's always been, and still should be, perfectly normal to add no more than 1 liter of oil between scheduled oil changes. I've already explained why engines start burning oil in another video, but today I want to help those who are dealing with this problem and wondering, how can I reduce high oil consumption without going through a full engine rebuild? I'll provide a helpful video and useful tips. And all I ask in return is a like and a subscription. Let's get started.
I can't get it now.
Oh, I can't get it. I thought you had all that.
I don't even know if it's not.
Point 8. External oil leaks, seals, and gaskets. First things first, make sure your engine is actually burning oil, and that it's not just a simple leak from a seal or gasket. Engines have a ton of weak points where oil can escape under certain conditions. Pay special attention to the valve cover gasket, the crankshaft and camshaft seals, the drain plug, and the oil filter, which can also start leaking out of nowhere. If you've got a turbocharged engine, be sure to check the oil feed lines and fittings. Leaks there are also common. Point 7. The turbocharger. If we're talking about turbocharged engines, then before you go searching for miracle additives or engine rebuild wizards, make sure your turbo isn't the one chugging oil like there's no tomorrow. It's actually pretty common. Fix the turbo, and the oil burning stops. Do a thorough inspection of the turbocharger and all related components. Check if oil is getting into the intake system, where it quietly burns away with that signature blue smoke. The worst part? It's not just the cost of oil you'll be upset about. It's the potential cost of a full engine rebuild. If you leave it as is, a failing turbo won't just guzzle oil and kill your performance. It'll also trash your piston rings and, quite literally, poison your catalytic converter. Let's keep going. Point 6. Change your oil. No, we're not talking about your regular scheduled oil change. We're talking about switching to a different brand or even type of motor oil. Sometimes, simply changing oil brands can help reduce consumption slightly. But there's a more effective trick, switching to a higher viscosity oil. This move can sometimes help you get rid of oil burning without tearing the engine apart. If your engine is getting up there in age and has developed a serious appetite for oil, chances are the issue lies with the piston rings or cylinder walls. In other words, your cylinder piston group is worn. Thinner oil struggles to cling to worn surfaces due to increased clearances between parts. As a result, some of it just burns off with the air-fuel mixture before the engine even warms up. Switching to a thicker oil might not magically fix worn-out internals, but it can significantly reduce how much oil the engine consumes. For example, if your car originally required 0W20 or 5W30 oil, and now it's 10+ years old and burning oil, you can try stepping up to something like 5W40. You don't want to go overboard with ultra-thick oil. Everything has limits, but a small bump in viscosity can do an aging engine a lot of good. Point 5. Driving style and operating conditions. These are huge factors, and they often directly contribute to why your engine is burning so much oil. If your car is a daily workhorse that you constantly push to the limit, or if you're the kind of driver who loves to stomp the gas pedal at every chance, then honestly, you shouldn't be surprised your engine's drinking oil. But here's the flip side. Babying the engine can be just as bad. Slow driving in stop-and-go traffic for hours a day, low RPMs, low loads, creates pressure deficits in the cylinders. This leads to a thicker-than-usual oil film building up on the cylinder walls, which then burns during combustion and leaves behind carbon deposits on the rings and pistons. And let's not forget about winter driving on short trips, where the engine never even gets up to proper operating temperature. That's another oil-burning scenario waiting to happen. These operating conditions are far from ideal. They stress the engine and start a chain reaction. Excessive oil consumption, carbon buildup in the CPG, and clogged catalytic converters. Fix these habits and conditions, and you might just tame your engine's oil appetite. Point 4. Engine decarbonization, aka ring cleaning. Following up on the last point, it's only logical to mention the infamous engine decarbonization process, something many people treat like a miracle cure. If a preliminary check shows that your oil control rings are gummed up with carbon, don't panic and spiral into despair just yet. This issue can sometimes be solved without an engine rebuild. Modern chemical treatments can work wonders, and if you choose the right product, you might be able to clean out the cylinders and put an end to oil burning at the same time. That said, not all products deliver results. That's the first thing to keep in mind. Second, some engines are just too far gone, and no amount of magic potion will help. So be realistic, assess the condition of your engine properly, and only try a decarbonizing treatment if you're reasonably sure it has a chance of working. Point 3. Engine additives. There are plenty of folks out there who, at the first sign of trouble, run out and buy a bag full of engine additives, hoping to cure all of the motor's problems in one bottle. And not just fix issues, but magically boost power too while they're at it. But here's the truth. If your engine is guzzling oil by the bucket, even the most expensive additive might not help, and your money will go straight down the drain along with the maker's empty promises. That said, not all additives are useless. There are actually some solid options out there that can help reduce oil consumption by thickening the oil slightly or by reconditioning old rubber seals. Some additives improve the density and elasticity of rubber components like seals and gaskets, cutting down on oil leaks significantly. Another type of additive forms a durable protective layer on worn-out metal surfaces. For high-mileage engines with noticeable wear, this can help restore some lost performance by filling in micro cracks and scratches, reducing the gaps that let oil slip through. On top of that, some of these additives also clean up carbon deposits and gunk, helping restore your cylinder piston group to better working order. Picking the right additive can genuinely help with oil burning, but there's always a risk of doing more harm than good. So be cautious and only turn to additives as a last resort. Point 2. Crankcase ventilation. The basic idea behind the crankcase ventilation system is pretty simple. Its job is to remove oil vapors from the crankcase while filtering out tiny oil droplets along the way. That filtration is handled by the oil separator, also known as a catch can or PCV baffle, and a lot depends on whether it's working properly. When the separator gets clogged, it stops doing its job, and those fine oil particles go straight into the intake system. From there, hot, sticky oil coats your intake valves, forming carbon deposits on the valve seats, valve faces, and even inside the combustion chambers. It gets worse if the PCV valve itself fails or sticks. That valve controls pressure inside the crankcase. When it stops regulating properly, large amounts of oil can be sucked into the intake and burned in the cylinders, leaving your engine, exhaust system, and catalytic converter gummed up with carbon. There are a few ways to deal with this. One option is to clean out the oil separator and the PCV valve. Another is to upgrade the factory ventilation system by installing an external catch can or oil trap. These fixes might not solve the problem entirely, but they'll definitely help prevent massive carbon buildup in the intake, cylinders, and your entire cylinder piston group. Point 1. Valve stem seals. Another way to reduce oil consumption without doing a full engine rebuild is to replace your valve stem seals. Of course, only if they really need replacing. This fix can be surprisingly effective and give great results. Over time, these seals lose elasticity, develop cracks, and eventually start letting a lot more oil through than they should. Instead of scraping off excess oil from the valve stems, worn-out seals allow it to leak down into the combustion chamber. Replacing them isn't exactly easy, but compared to a full rebuild, trust me, it's a walk in the park. Now, if you've gone through everything we've talked about and your engine is still drinking oil like a drunken outlaw, I've got bad news for you. You're probably looking at an engine overhaul. What exactly you'll need to replace or rebuild depends on your specific situation. But one thing I can say for sure, the cost won't be pleasant. There are other options, like swapping in a replacement engine altogether. Just make sure to crunch the numbers beforehand and figure out what's going to be the most practical and cost-effective solution for you. That's all from me. If you know of any other ways to beat oil burning and reduce engine oil consumption, don't keep it to yourself. Drop it in the comments below. Your advice might be just what someone else needs to save their engine. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And if you're already subscribed, share this video with your friends. Odds are they'll find it helpful too. Take care, everyone, and see you next time on the channel.